Okay, so the day has come with a plate whacker here. It's definitely a workhorse. It's a Mikasa, or Mikasa, I don't really know how to say it. Problem is, two things. I forgot the part. Dogs ate this. It's a power switch. We're going to be installing one of those. And the pull cord, everything is missing. The unfortunate part about this as well is they also ripped out the like a little welded nut on there to kind of hold the bolt. So I got this off of a pressure washer, I want to say. This is also a GX160. I have an extra switch here, but there's also this switch. So I'm going to take a quick gander, see what we have here. Looks like it's just one that's missing a connector. There's a little oil pressure cutoff switch or circuit. So yeah, I think this will be a pretty decent addition. So what I'm going to do is, because this one was used, I'm going to clean it up real good. Take that one off. There are 4 bolts that hold it on. And then I'm going to try to find some to put on the recoil here. And then we'll do that. So let me gather everything, clean everything up, and then we'll get started. Okay, so let's take this off, why don't we? Odd. This is bouncing so much. Oh, a little mount for the tank. Just completely came apart. That's not good. Where's the other one? Oh, there it is. I have to hide it. What's even more fun is taking it off. Or I should say putting it back on. Not much you can do with a broken unit. This is the problem with these types of machines. They're bars for safety and whatnot. Kind of get in the way. Hoping that I can get this off. Where are we hung on about here? Oh, look. Throttle arm. Let's see here. Does this look the same? Yeah, there we go. Except now this looks better. So apparently this throttle arm wants to get in the way, so let's lift it out of the way. Kind of seems like it's bent anyway. It's kind of odd. You want to be careful with that too, because that could very well be a scenario that you break the internal governor, so you don't want to push too hard or anything on those. There we are. Put these in. So anything with multiple screws, you can put them in with an impact if you want, but do it very slowly. And don't do it all the way. go back and kind of tighten them up, because if you push them in all the way, the likelihood of you being able to get the fourth and final one or third or whatever is pretty slim. This is going to be the hard one, I know it. This one is broken off somehow. Sorry guys, not to getting it away. There we go. I don't know what's going on with Garage Puppy. Yeah, good Garage Puppy. Oh, hi. So now we have that done and taken care of. Obviously we don't want it there because of this bar, or do we? Which is awkward. But then the bar's not always, this bar will always be there. So, do we just have a sticker going the wrong way? Probably we'll have to do it. I like that orientation. Perfect. Let's get the screwdriver or the bolts ready. Now, something to point out, I had to find these because they weren't with it. You have to have shallow or very short bolts for this, because if you go too long, they will hit the flywheel fins. So if you ever lose one, just because they thread in doesn't mean that it's the right type. Make sure they're very short. So as soon as you give it a yank the first time and you hit that resistance, you'll remember. Where's my... Oh, there we are. Excuse me. So there's something that I want to call time vampires. Time vampires are items that should not take that long, but do. For instance, I'm going to put a connector on here. If I didn't have a connector, I would have to take time out the day, go to the hardware store, excuse me, Garage Puppy, and get connectors, assuming I find the right gauge. There we go. The installation is a little rough. At that point, you've already wasted a good section of your day. And you are not very close to getting your job done. So having certain things like these little connectors are very handy. So I always recommend having a few of them, just to hang around and everything. Because look, now it goes right in. It doesn't look factory now. It looks like I did it, but it should be fine. Full start works. What we're going to do now is test the switch. But first, we're going to have to test for spark. Go ahead, and I need to take care of one item. I'll be right back. Okay, so testing for spark. Let's get this out of the way. See how I told you about that little bar? That's wrong. Extension cells. Seems like a little overkill for this, but I guess not. What is going on here? I hate the stuff on it. Makes whatever should be simple not. Let's make sure this is even the right size. It should be. Yeah, it is. Just this stupid bar. Ugh. That's going to need to be checked anyway, but for the time being, it'll suit our purpose. We want on bright white spark, perfect. Off. No spark at all. Try on again. Bright white spark. Okay, so our switch is working good. This throttle has me kind of concerned. What just happened there? I have no reason to think this wouldn't start. It's okay, garage puppy. But that throttle has me concerned. It's okay, garage puppy. What do you need? I think she wants to go inside. I'll be right back. Okay, so as I was saying, having to deal with that throttle issue kind of looks like that throttle arm was, the governor arm was bent. And these things are to shake. I don't want to, this, however heavy of an item, shaking all over my table. And it should be on auto. So, let's take a look. So, what was all weird sounding? Don't know what this okay. What is that? How does that connect? Oh, that is the... Okay. I'm gonna have to dig that out. I'll be right back. So this is what I was talking about. Somehow this throttle spring got loose. I think the linkage is okay, but as you can tell, the bend in it has kind of bent back. So I'm going to bend it back, put it in this little hole, and then what that does is it puts more tension on the governor when you push it. This is full throttle. That's idle. I want to leave it in idle. I think without that spring it should be in idle all the time, but it is a gently used machine, so who knows. Okay, I'm putting it back in the stand. Okay. now that I'm fairly confident of the fact it's not going to rattle everything down, I'm going to take a new spark plug. We're going to test it out again, just because we can. Now let's see here. Sparky, sparky. Actually, we should check it with the nose spark, just in case, because that's the one that we could potentially have a problem if we don't have. Okay, very good. Now, let's put that plug in. This is in definite need of pressure washing. What's going on here? Hey. Okay, now still stuck. Let's try the other cut. Why is it being like this? Maybe there's something on the threads and came off. Well, it's fine, you're going pretty good. Let's finish it with the impact. There we are. Not too tight. Let's put that back on. So, I'm going to put the carb, or the air cleaner back on, not the carb. Should we even... Which way's on? On's this way, so the fuel's off. Yeah, why not? Let's, we're going to get a wrench and we're going to take that bowl off and take a look and see what goodies are in there. Okay. Take our cup, put it on there. Garage probably came back outside. There's not much fuel in there at all so far. There's some crusties in there. Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to have to take that whole thing apart. It's not too surprising. It's probably better we do it anyway. It is a concrete machine. And from the looks of it, there might be chunks of concrete in there. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this off. This little plate comes first. Is there fuel here? How much? Like a quarter of a tank, but it looks pretty decent. So what we need, there's really not a good way of doing this because the fuel line is being held into place. The exception of maybe just taking off the whole tank. That's a whole different level of work. What I'm going to do is take a pair of mini vice grips. So they're pretty close to touching. Clamp the fuel line off at the highest point I possibly can. There we go. And take my smaller set of fuel line pliers and take off the fuel line. Just dirt and stuff on there, it's hard to even get a grasp on it. See the unfortunate part one. Now those clips are in the way of the throttle. So in order to get that off, I have to take it out at a certain point. See what type of hokey just system this is? Like, Hondas are great, don't get me wrong. But this one by far is just probably the most poorly designed one they have for this exact reason. Okay, so that's going to keep it so it's not going to leak, or at least not that much. Let's go ahead and take this back to the carb station. You've seen this before. Check out some of my other videos. I've done Hondas, I've done all of them. So I'm not going to show that, so I will get this cleaned up and bring you guys back once it's done. Okay, so it's the next day. Had to take care of a few things, so now we're back. I noticed it this morning that the carb was leaking a little bit, so I took the bowl off and took a Q-tip and just kind of cleaned the where the needle rides and seats in the needle one more time, and it appears to have dried up. Really have any problems now. Another thing to mention is when you replace the recoil, you do have to make sure that the type of like attachment that attaches to the flywheel is the same. Otherwise, you could potentially break it. I forgot to show that, but I took it off the old engine that this came off of, put it on this one. They're the same thing, except they just have different styles. The one that came with it, these little metal arms come out, and this one has these plastic arms that just kind of find like a dent and kind of gets stuck, rather than actually going into a slot. So if you were to put that in the wrong way or in the wrong one, it could potentially break it. I don't know if this is choke or not, but let's find out. I'm going to keep my hands next to the on and off switch fast in case it starts to rumble. It does have a clutch, so it shouldn't start shaking until a higher RPM. That's also going to make it a little harder to start because it is at idle. So let's give it a try. Maybe this is choke. Might have something there. And turn it up just a little bit. Please have to remember to push this back. This is the same carb. This way is choke. That way's no choke. This way is choke. Okay. It usually says it on there, but it's worn off. Switches on. Definitely smell gasoline. Fuel is on. Is there enough fuel? Plenty of fuel. This thing's just not getting enough fuel. Something I do want to do before I do this is over here, I'm going to adjust the idle. Maybe it's just not getting enough fuel. On. Choke. Give it a dash of help. See what's going on in here. Let's check the plug. Is it flooded? Oh no, I have to get that long extension. Let me go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so something happened that I can honestly say I only ran across maybe 1 or 2 times ever. And that is, I think, you had a bad new spark plug. Spark plugs go bad over time, don't get me wrong, but new? That's weird. Especially at NGK. It's very, very odd. But I put a brand new one in. I tested this one just to make sure, and it looks to be working. So let's try this again. I'll leave this on idle, maybe a little higher. And that's on. Well, and there you have it. Let's put this back on. This is a little groove that they fit into. Put the air filter and stuff back on. Let's see if that changes the tuning. We have to do a little bit. I'm going to do a video here soon on how to test the spark plug, because that was odd, because there's 2 different ways, and one way that you check it, actually it said it was fine. The second way that you had to check it obviously showed it was not working. Now let's see, let's turn this, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. There appears to be a bolt missing off that, but it runs. Probably gonna turn it down just a little bit more though. I like to have it at a pretty low idle, especially on something with the clutch cam gauge on. It's just a safety thing. But you also don't want it so low you can't start it. It's a hit or miss type thing. You just have to make sure you get it in the right area. Let me find a nut for the tank, and then we'll get back. Okay, so I put that on there. I'm going to turn it on one more time. We're going to adjust the idle because I don't want to shake it on the concrete. I have no real issue with the main because the main was clean. We cleaned it out very thoroughly. So I have no issue with that. What I do have an issue is I just want to make sure the idle's good. That way you can start it, let it go. I have to keep on restarting. It's not going to shake itself away. I wasn't able to really decrease too much more, maybe just, I don't know, 50 RPMs, but I richened it up too. That helps kind of slow it down a little bit, and it makes it easier to start. But okay, looks like this should be about it. I'm going to tidy it up right here so it looks a little cleaner, and change the oil and let it run outside a little bit, and I have to have a neighbor of mine help me lift it off this because this does weigh a pretty decent amount, and as you can tell I'm not exactly a steel toe boot type of person, so I'm not going to risk that. Okay, well, if you like what you watched, definitely continue watching, liking, subscribing, and I'll see everyone later. Bye.